Loki has corrupted it. You must find a way to break Loki's connection to it.
Us? What are you gonna do?
I am going to have a word with my brother.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. I have covered the entirety of Walter Simonson's run, and we have 4 issues left, including this one. His run ends at issue 382, and today we are looking at 379 from 1987, The Mighty Thor. There's nowhere left to run, Thor. This is the hour of Fin Fang Foom. And great cover by Simonson showing the scope of the size. Look at that. That is so cool here. My goodness. I love Walter Simonson. Unfortunately, he doesn't draw the inside. He is too busy doing X Factor during this time. So he is still writing this issue. He does have one more issue which he will provide the pencils for, and then he will basically complete his run in issue 382 here. So all right, and we are where we left off in the previous issue. I do have a playlist, feel free to check it out. And Loki yells, "My home, my laboratory, everything destroyed. Someone will pay dearly for this outrage." And beautiful lettering by John Workman. There were giants in those days, or a disclosure between heroes and villains. And we have our credits. Walter Simonson writes. Sal Buscema is doing the art. John Workman, shout out. Top 3 letterer, Thomas Zakowski and Kevin Kline are the other 2. And then Jim Shooter, still editor-in-chief. We're almost done with the Jim Shooter era, where he will be unceremoniously fired from Marvel. Rest in peace, Jim Shooter. As of this recording, Walter Simonson and Sal Buscema are still with us. So is John Workman. But, all right. And Loki continues. But how and why am I yet alive? The Frost Giants breached my keep, and though I slew several, they had overthrown me and taken me prisoner. So much I remember before I lost consciousness, of course, from the previous issue. As I mentioned, I have a playlist. But the walls have seen all that occurred, and they still stand. They shall tell me what I wish to know, for within the halls of Loki, the very walls have eyes. And so you can see this swick sound here. And so he yells out as he sees Thor here saving. And you can see Iceman right here. And Loki says, "No longer helpless beneath the curse of Hela, but garbed in gleaming armor, and defeating his ancient foes with all the zest of yore." Oh, I love that. And how could I have, how could I not have shrieked aloud at the touch of his stinking honor, his undurable nobility, as he tended my helpless form, or carried off my Earthsal captive Iceman of X Factor, doubtless to return him home on Earth. And so I am currently covering X Factor. So we'll see where Thor does make a brief cameo returning Iceman to them. And Loki continues here. I love bad Loki. I hate that they like the character on the movies, and they decided to do a face turn. And I'm like, some characters are meant to be bad. Goodness gracious. So, and so Loki says, "Oh, the shame of this perfidious vision. 'Tis all too clear. My hated stepbrother, whom I would destroy, hath saved my life. Would that mine eyes had been torn from the very sockets. Ere I had seen this sight. But Thor is not my immediate concern. You can see how mad he is, just the way he's walking up. Were those whose heinous treachery have placed the life of Loki in debt of the one being he hates most in all the 9 worlds. And he uses his power here to turn on this TV thingy. Look at the SPAC. Where are the frost giants of Grundroth? And so it says here, they're Midgard, which is Earth. Even as I watch they emerged through a dimensional portal from Jotunheim. They have broken Odin's band, daring to venture into the mortals' world. And they stand by one of the great fjords of Norway. So their leader says, basically giving the reader that Hela has cursed Thor's bones. They're very brittle, but the armor protects him, but it will not save him. And they're going to call the oldest and mightiest of Thor's enemies and have Thor destroyed. And Loki says, an excellent course of action, Grundroth, and one I would have undertaken myself in time. I like how Buscema makes him look even older. I love these stares. Just perhaps our brief liaison has actually provided your dull wits with a spark of inspiration. No matter. Thor's eventual doom is certain. Hela hath seen to that, and your doom is equally certain. Loki shall see to that. I love his home. And so he opens this door here. Though much of my hall lies in ruins beneath my feet, the uttermost tower of sorcery remains untouched, protected by spells that Odin himself could undo. And it is from here that Loki creates his greatest work of magical arts. Now I shall loose the bonds of flesh from the spirit. And so you can see his spirit or soul or whatever actually leave his body. Asgard cannot hold the ambition nor the hatred of Loki. Midgard shall I seek. So he's going to Earth here. Midgard shall I find. And so what is he looking for? We don't know. So we're in South America, the Andes Mountains here. And we see here, softly, softly. Though the Celestials have long departed, not even Odin could truly fathom their motives. That was in Thor 300. And I shall do nothing that might alert them or arouse their curiosity wherever they may roam. But that which I seek is here, and sooner I find it and depart. And so he finds it here and says, success! Yon gleaming lake of solid slag can only be my prize. And so he's coming right here. The days of Grundoth and his followers are truly numbered. And so it says here that as he gloats, we're now going into Asgard, and we see Curse here, who's a dark elf. And it says, children's laughter does not arouse him. Now he hears them crying. So you can see he is putting his attention somewhere else here. And he's going through, and so he hears the kids. And if you remember, all the gods have gone down here. You see the kids, kind of what's going on. And so Curse opens the door, and this kid goes, because these two kids are human, so they're not afflicted. And he says, Mister, you've got to help us. Hildy's real bad, and so's everybody else. We got to get help and maybe Balder will know what to do, and we gotta get there. And Mister, and so they talk, but he really doesn't notice much here. It says he remembers from long ago when he was someone else in another lifetime here. So, and so he picks up the kids here, and he's going to walk. He's not speaking, and they're going, what's he gonna do? So that is another story. And so now we're on Earth, and we see X Factor's headquarters here, and Thor has Iceman here, and he's gonna drop him off and leave. And you can see the Beast and Cyclops are there. And so it tells you here, learn all about it in X Factor 17. And so Thor is now flying through New York. I am uncertain about leaving that young man, but Robert Drake's comrades will surely see to his need. And so I know that this fear and mistrust of mutants infects many here on Earth, including those who minister the sick. For such is the nature of humans that they're always suspicious of those who differ from them, and not even the power of Odin could have changed that. And so he goes into his apartment here. In the meantime, my humble abode in Brooklyn awaits, where I dwelt as Sigurd Jarlson, and for once I welcome the emptiness and quiet, for I have to consider nothing less than the destiny of the Thunder God himself. What I must do next may begin the final chapter in the life of Thor. But come what may, I shall bear my fate like the son of gods. And so on top of the fjord, they start to take one of the ice shelves, one of the glaciers, and it falls on the water here. Look at that, these a splam. And they fashion it into like a boat, and off they go. And then he tells this guy here, Snotry, to go down, take this rope, and find the enemy of Thor, and then ask him to come up. And I love this. And don't forget to hold your breath, or thy breath here. So, all right. So Curse takes him to the throne room. They see Balder here, and they say, "Oh my gosh, everybody is down here." And he signals to the birds, and the birds go. They grab this thing from Balder's pocket, and they take it to the kids, and they're trying to tell us something, but I can't talk bird. Mick, what am I supposed to do with this? And you can see this tear coming from his eyes. And so back to the Frost Giants. And so they're like, what's taking this guy so long? Suddenly you see this thaw, so they get it. So the poor guy got eaten, so they're pulling him up like a fish. So that guy, they had him. Off they go to pull, and suddenly the rope breaks, and here comes Fin Fang Foom, and he says, "This had better be good." And they go, "You're not big enough. You can't be him. Who are you?" And so Fin Fang Foom's upset because they brought him up, and I believe that this coloring is meant to be similar to the original, because most of the time Fin Fang Foom is green. I love Fin Fang Foom's response. "A foul-tasting snowball awakens me out of a sound slumber. Some ragged fishermen try to catch me like clothesline that wouldn't hook a minnow, and they insult my appearance and fail to recognize me. Rarely have I encountered such ill-mannered food, so eager to be eaten. Perhaps a midnight snack would be just the thing to restore my good humor." So he says that he's not food, he's the leader. They seek the great Midgard serpent, itself enemy of Thor. So not some garrulous refugee from the fisheries of Earth. And so he tells them to be careful with him because he's the oldest dragger. And he asks, "What is a Thor, and is he worth your lives?" And they tell him he's the god of thunder, the mightiest of the Asgardians, the wielder of the hammer Mjolnir that would make fish bait out of you. And he says, and why do you seek this Midgard whatever? And so he's the name of the Midgard Serpent is Jormungand, and he says it's the World Serpent who encircles the earth, and he is Thor's mortal enemy. Now, as never before, he has a chance to destroy his hated foe. And Fin Fang Foom says, indeed, he says in the form of a question here. And you can see this nice here, this beautiful thick line, and then it's not even finished here. And the colorist goes ahead and finishes it, but it is so cool. You can see here where, again, the line doesn't complete. That is pretty cool. You can see that here as well here. And so you can see that Fin Fang Foom is kind of going, oh, I love the underpants, although they because you can't show naked beasts. And he says, now's the time to strike because his bones are brittle. And so he leaves here, and he says, I would like to meet the warrior who wields a mighty weapon enough to defy the power of Fin Fang Foom. And if he proves himself amusing, perhaps I won't devour the rest of you when I returned. And they're like, who was that? And he cannot possibly be the one we sought. And so he kind of ponders here and says, my feeling is that our fishing may not have been in vain. I wonder if we should have described Thor's new appearance to him. And so Thor sits in the bench here, and he thinks, how can he face Hela and force her to lift the curse? That's really all he wants. But he's not sure how he's going to be able to do it. But you can see Fin Fang Foom right here. Or at least that's the impression we're getting, but it really was. And so he kicks Thor here in this great Skara, I think. And so love it here. So and so he says, time to face death, for I am Fin Fang Foom, and the son of Odin shall learn will learn to his eternal regret. He says, oh, I beg your pardon, I fear I mistook you for someone else in a red cape, So he doesn't know that Thor has changed. And he's like, well, there's actually quite a few of them in this line of work. And so and so Thor says, I think you're just searching for someone in particular, and perhaps I might be of some assistance. I'm fairly familiar with most of the other wearers of such cape. Whom do you think? Do you seek? Sorry. And he says, Thor, the Thunderer, son of Odin. And Thor says, not a social call, I presume. Hardly. Thor is an ancient enemy, and I have recently discovered that he is suffering under a considerable handicap. And so, and one hates to do the dishonorable thing and take unfair advantage, but really history only loves winners. Custer's and the Alamo accepted. Accepted. And historians care nothing for the moral niceties, the victors, especially in this day and age. Oh, that is so true. And so, anyway, he says, but I intend to forestall any such possibility. And Thor says, I know of this Thor. You hardly look large enough to provide him a worthy opponent. And look at everybody here in the... And Fin Fang Foom says, the deceptions of appearance the deception of appearances. It's not like the good old days when life and death were simpler. Take the frail mortal who gather about us now. Who would have thought that they would harness power enough to one day challenge the gods themselves? The lesson of the ants, strength in numbers. And Thor says, the name Fin Fang Foom is unfamiliar to me. And he says, it's my it means my name of war, which is actually a synonym thing. Nom de guerre. It's in French. Name of, and in Spanish is guerra. So, but I've half a mind to lay waste to these creatures and their hovels right now. A suitable demonstration of my power for the doubting Thomas before me. I think you should reconsider, says Thor. 'Tis true that mankind has harnessed the kind of power of the atom, and such nuclear devices might harm even a dragon. And so, anyway, so he says, my job is to prevent such suffering if you can. And if you threaten the city, you will find that you must face me first. And Fin Fang Foom says, you speak well for one so overmatched. You're certainly the most interesting food I've met in quite some time. And so he says, all right, I'll make you a deal. If you can lift my toe, I'll spare everyone. But if you can't, I will slay the entire city. And so, is it just the? I think it's just the toe, or maybe just the foot. So anyway, you can see Thor here, trying and trying and trying and trying, and eventually, boom, he does, and that impresses him. And he's like, "Well done, little one. Climb upon my back, and we shall depart this noxious city for the green hills of Earth and a cleaner battlefield, where an honest warrior might perish in glory." And so Thor picks up his it's not a hat, I'm sorry, his helmet here, and off they go. And you can see that the helicopters of the news are trying to follow, but they can't keep up. So they doesn't tell us where they are here, but he says, hey, you lift my foot, so I'm going to grant you a boon before I destroy you, and that's to tell you my name. And you can see him here. All of a sudden, you can see that he's ripping away the guys here. And he says, the time of illusion has passed. And it is actually the World Serpent here, Jormungand. And so, basically, it was brought to his attention about Thor. He had no idea, and until those giants actually said something. So since it's always been said that they would kill each other, or one would die, he pretty much wants to make sure that he kills Thor, so Thor can't kill him. So, and look at how this is pretty cool here. Nice splash page here. And so here the news are looking for them, and suddenly they're letting us know that there's like a feeling here. I love this little and so here come the giants here, and this guy says, hey, what's that? The birds have frozen in their flight. The winds no longer howls. It cannot be, but it is. It can only mean one thing. Time has stopped in its eternal course. That means that the World Serpent is loose. And so that dragon, that babbling idiot, he was truly Jormungand. And if he has shed his illusions, then he must have found Thor. And so they're running here, and you can say, quick, giants, our greatest enemy is doomed, and we must see it with our own eyes. And so he says, oh, I forgot to ask you for your name before I shed my cloak here. And he says, it doesn't matter. When you're dead, I shall take another guy's here. And Thor, they start talking here, and he finally says that I am Thor, the Thunderer. And you can see the serpent here. And we are about to get to the greatest issue after, so we finally have these two ready to go out. And so the hammer sings the death of Jormungand, and we are going to have a battle in the next issue. Thor against his greatest foe, the Midgard Center. Enough said. And ladies and gentlemen, it is all done in splash pages. Almost the entire issue, minus one page. It is all splash page. So, oh my goodness, it is such a cool such a cool issue that we are going to go to. Thor 379 by Walter Simonson and Sal Buscema. And we are about to get into, as I mentioned, the greatest Thor issue, I would say of all times, but at least of Walter Simonson's, because he's about to leave this book with a huge bang. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.